afternoon, Lubbock. You are tuning in live to Dammit, not another podcast. This is our 11th episode. Thank you so much for joining in today. We have a bit of a cast shortage, I would say, but that doesn't mean that our conversation is going to be any less better. So I'm Perry.
I'm DG.
And I am Austin here in this production studio.
All right.
I guess the Facebook studio.
We got a lot coming up for you guys today. We started a conversation on Friday's Dammit that we decided to extend over to today, which is about what constitutes a superhero. Do they actually have to have superhero abilities?
Oh man, I missed that.
Yeah, we're gonna finish it today. Yeah, so you're in luck.
We didn't divulge too much into it because we would have gone over.
I'll need like the Cliff Notes version of what y'all
I got you.
Okay, good.
And then we're also going to talk about tariff engineering, which is something I learned about and think's pretty interesting. And maybe we can touch on what it is to be a breatharian.
A breatharian?
A breatharian.
Does it involve oxygen?
Yes,
it
does. It's very interesting.
So everyone's a breatharian because we all breathe oxygen.
I guess technically, yes. So the first thing I wanted to jump into was tariff engineering. I get a lot of news on my TikTok For You page, which always just spills over into KTXT because I love interesting things, I guess.
Because there really is no difference between your TikTok life and your KTXT life.
That's true. They merge.
That's
I am
right.
my own. I don't have a different personality for my TikTok.
In fact, TXT is actually TikTok for you.
I like that.
Yeah.
So tariff engineering refers to the process of altering products in such a way that duty benefits such as lower rates and applies to the time of importation. So a lot of companies will alter their products so that they can escape higher tariffs. And one of the most famous examples of this are Converse sneakers. Because I don't know if you've ever noticed on the pair of Converse, the bottoms are kind of like fuzzy. And apparently...
They're fuzzy?
Yeah, like they have like a little slight texture. It's not like it really affects the sneaker in any way. But they do that so if more than 50% of the sole is covered in, quote, fabric, it counts as a slipper rather than a shoe. And tennis shoes or sneakers carry an import tax of anywhere between 37.5% to 48%, while slippers are only taxed from 3 to 6%.
So does the tread actually have fabric, or is it just textured like fabric and they can get away with that?
I think it actually has fabric.
Really?
But they just admitted this like back in 2011. They like kept it on the down low for a while, but I guess
nobody cares now.
Yeah,
so
I guess so. And the same thing happened back in 1995. Marvel actually went to U.S. court to argue that X-Men action figures were not human because human action figures are taxed higher than non-human action figures. And as far as my
I see
goes,
where the second topic comes into play now. Okay.
And they actually, I believe, won that lawsuit, so they don't have to pay the human action figures.
The X-Men are not human.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, technically they're not. They're mutants, but we will not get into that conversation.
So where are these products made, and what tariffs are they? What countries' tariffs are they trying to avoid?
I believe the import taxes from China.
Okay.
But I believe most of them are from China. They probably do this kind of nonsense for anywhere else we get our products to.
Yeah.
The last one that I thought was notable is that DSLR cameras are capable of recording more than 30 minutes, but they are maxed out at 30 minutes because otherwise it'd classify them as camcorders, which are taxed as more than cameras. So, and unfortunately, due to the intent of the alteration, they cannot reverse that alteration once it's imported, like whatever, so they can't like import the cameras with 30 minutes and then alter them to be an hour. However, they have to keep it the same as it's imported.
I wonder if there's a hack. If there's a hack you could do.
Probably.
There
There's
probably
loopholes
is.
all over the place, it seems like. Now, if you wanted to know what a breatharian is,
Yes.
I actually just watched this. I was going to save it for the podcast Friday, but it's fresh on my mind, so I might as well get it out there. Breatharians survive off of primarily air. They don't eat food. They just do different breathing techniques, and that's how it works.
These are people?
Yes. And they practice, a lot of them are more like spiritually connected, I guess you could say, and they practice different breathing techniques pretty much all the time to become masters of it.
Are they nose breathers or mouth breathers?
A little bit of both, I would say.
Okay.
I would say. But the one thing I found the most interesting about this particular breatharian, I watched like a little brief video about it. He does drink water, but primarily coconut water. If then, not that much, but he will drink his own urine. Because urine, he said, has 103 minerals in it. But I just can't imagine, if you're not eating anything, where are those minerals coming from? And you're just like recycling them over and over again. I don't know.
There's a reason why your body's trying to expel that.
Yes.
Because it's waste.
Even in like survivalist things I've heard, you can only drink it like maximum like 1 or 2 times, and then
Yeah.
it just doesn't do
Yeah.
anything for you anymore. Honestly, I would just not even drink it at all.
Breatharians. So they don't eat.
They don't eat, and it takes up, like they say, it takes training of the mind to get there eventually. They say everything you need is in the air, because our air is also primarily composed of carbon and nitrogen, and that most of the atoms in our body are consistent of carbon, and so we're feeding the carbon from the air to the atoms in our body and all of that. And he says he's gotten blood work done, he's completely healthy, he did not appear malnourished, but it's just a very interesting concept to believe.
Well, that's interesting. I was gonna say, like, who is the oldest breatharian, if you on record currently, or does anyone know?
I don't know offhand, but I do know that it's practiced in a lot of like Eastern countries, and so I would say that they probably have lived for a long time, because it's an ancient practice that's a little bit more modernized.
That's interesting. Now,
This is related.
Yeah.
I thought I'd throw this in there.
Alright.
This is the Hollies.
so it's funny you say that,
It's an
Barry,
oldie.
because I was scrolling, I was scrolling through TikTok on a random day, as you do, and one of the videos I came across was a guy who he said he could breathe underwater, but what he essentially did is he could extend his duration underwater.
Mm-hmm.
And what he would do is he would essentially gulp in some water, and then basically make his mouth like a pressure chamber and separate the oxygen from the carbon dioxide. And then
Okay.
expel the carbon dioxide while he's sucking in the oxygen.
Well,
I don't know how he did it, but
that one's a little bit. I mean, I honestly kind of believe a breatharian over that one. That one's a little crazy. How you split the atoms in your mouth,
well,
and then
on his video, he did a full like underwater video and showed how he does it and all that. And
huh?
it was very like weird looking at it.
Mm-hmm.
So
Are we sure he's just not like a trained diver?
well, that's what I thought, but no,
Yeah.
he's not, because
Okay.
I'm like, he's got to be like Navy SEAL, like trained diver, and no, I think he may be younger than you and I, but
Okay. Well, I mean, that is pretty interesting. I don't know. I can't see. Is it coming up?
yep, there it is.
The theme song for Breatharians. All I need is the air that I breathe.
Yeah. I can't imagine breatharian being a practice that catches on, especially because people do enjoy eating for just the sake of it.
Do they abstain from other worldly things? If they don't eat, do they also not procreate or?
As far as I know, no, I guess
Oh.
not. But like, I mean, maybe that depends on the morals of each individual breatharian. This particular like documentary that I watched, he seemed like a regular guy. He did practice acupuncture, where he would have these like, and it's not even technically acupuncture, I guess. He had these blocks that had a bunch of nails on them, and he would stand on them and do push-ups on them and stuff to
Wow.
align the nerves in his hands and feet with the rest of his body and organs. And yeah, I mean, good for him. If you were happy with, he says he's practiced this lifestyle for about 4 years.
Wow.
Yeah.
He's survived without food for 4 years?
He says the first 2 years he would eat one big meal a week, and now he's
Oh, wow.
pretty much primarily on a liquid diet, if you would even consider coconut water and urine a liquid diet.
Well, coconut water, I would assume, would have protein
Yeah.
and other
something.
things. So yeah, it's not like he's cut out all caloric intake.
Yeah.
But I could not live on coconut water alone.
I
There's
couldn't
no way.
either. I couldn't either. It's just I don't think it's fun to restrict yourself when it comes to
No.
food.
Nope.
It's good.
I'm at a point in my life where I like eating.
Me too.
Even if it is a restricted diet, I still eat. Mm-hmm. I guess I'm also a birtharian,
Yeah.
so I have offspring.
Yeah.
But yeah, a breatharian, that's interesting. Very
It is.
interesting.
There's been a couple more videos, but I only had the time to watch the one today. But I thought if you're happy, okay, go for it.
It's another way to live your life.
Yeah.
I mean,
he's saving some cash. It seems like not having a grocery bill or eating out or anything like that. So.
There was a that reminds me of this old Doctor Who episode, and I can't remember what season or who was the doctor, but it's basically this episode takes place in the future, and they're visiting these people, but they're stretched out like parchment.
Yes.
I know
what you're talking about.
And they're trees. They're actually trees, but they're living people trees. And the greeting is that you would go up and exhale in their face. And that kind of reminds me of this whole breatharian concept.
Yeah.
When you greet them, you actually breathe in their
Yeah.
face, and the tree would take in the carbon dioxide and photosynthesis and all that.
They say everything you need is here on Earth, which to me is also food, but
Yep.
there you go.
Yep.
So on Friday, we were talking about superheroes. I don't even remember how we got into it. It was just hypotheticals on top of hypotheticals. But we started talking about Black Widow and then kind of Tony Stark and Batman and people who I would consider heroes because they participate in activities that are meant to save people and defend people from bad things. But I don't consider them superheroes because they do not have any genetic abilities
Or special powers.
or special powers that would contribute to a superhero.
I think what started the conversation, Perry, was we were talking about a hypothetical, because it started off hypothetical in about zombie apocalypse, and then it got to the hypothetical of if you were in the MCU universe and Tony Stark, Iron Man, came in and said, hey, I want you to join because one of us had an ability or something. What would you say and why? So I think that's how that conversation kind of rung up with the Black Widow and all that.
Well, back to that original question, I personally would, not contribute to society. I think if I had superpowers, I'd be on the down low, and that's just about me. But
yeah, I feel like if I live in a world where there's already superheroes. Plus, I don't want to sign the Sokovia Accords. I would agree. I'd be on Captain America's side. I don't agree with the Sokovia Accords, or as far as the MCU universe. So that's why I wouldn't join. But that's also why I asked: is this pre-Civil War or post?
Yeah.
So
I would not know the difference, but online, yes.
Basically, it's just if pre-Civil War you have Captain America, Iron Man, Thor, Hulk, like all that. And then post-Civil War is just Iron Man and his squad.
Because of Thanos?
No, this was because, like I said, the Sokovia Accords, and Cap didn't want to sign them. He wanted the Avengers to be something. He wanted them to be different than S.H.I.E.L.D. and not have to follow any rules or regulations, and just help people. So.
Do you think that was Stan Lee's original vision?
It's hard to say.
I would say no. That seems really complicated.
Hail Hydra.
It's hard to say because it is in the comic book. So maybe it was, maybe it wasn't. I don't know.
Okay.
Because we all think of Marvel as the MCU, but a lot of people reveal to them as the comics, and there's a lot of universes and different stuff in the comics that we do not have time to get into right now. So it could be his true vision. It could not be. We don't know.
All right. Well, online, they defined a superhero as a benevolent fictional character with superhuman powers, such as Superman, while a hero is a person who is admired or idealized for courage, outstanding achievements, or noble qualities. So I feel like that pretty much answers the question right there. I don't really feel like there's any argument, I
mean, I think between us, I think there's no argument because all the superheroes we know have a special power or ability. I feel, and then I think I wish Nick and Ryan were here because they would give their input on whether Hawkeye is a superhero or not. But I mean, I think we all agree: Black Widow, Hawkeye, Batman, the ones that can do that are very athletic and very known of martial arts can do hero things, but they're not. I wouldn't classify them in the superhero category. And you can fight me in the comments section.
All right. What do you think, DG?
I've been giving this some thought, and I'm not sure if your definition is clear enough. So what's the definition of hero?
A hero is a person who is admired or idealized for their courage, outstanding achievements, or noble qualities.
Okay, and superhero?
A benevolent fictional character with superhuman powers such as Superman.
So okay, so inherent within your superhero definitions, they have to be fictitious. They can't be
I guess
real.
so. Yeah.
So
Well, I guess because I don't.
superheroes
personally-
are fake.
Yeah. Yeah. Unless you
Okay.
consider a
Spoiler
breatharian
alert.
superhero.
Well, I know some superheroes, but they're not fake. They're real people, and they have innate abilities that I don't possess, and I think very few people possess.
What do you consider these abilities?
Marksmanship,
Okay.
being able to hit a target, a moving target from great distances, you know. Feats of skill and daring. Circus performers, I guess, have a lot of innate abilities that most of us don't. You know, trapeze artists.
I feel like their ability is like no fear. Like they have no. I don't think
Yeah.
they have fear going.
You know,
into
the
it.
old the iron workers that built the skyscrapers of New York City back in the 30s. Those guys,
Yeah.
you know, danced on steel girders hundreds of feet up
with no
without
rope.
a safety
yeah,
belt.
without a
Yeah.
safety rope.
You know, that takes some daring do.
But back in the 30s, do you think they had a choice?
Yes.
I don't know.
I mean,
but-
that was Depression era. You kind of take any work you could get.
But it wasn't, you know, this is the only way you can do this or there's no way. That was just how it was done. Just
Yeah.
like, you know, we didn't have OSHA back then, so we didn't have OSHA regulations. We do now, so yeah, you wouldn't see that being done today. But even still, I would think, you know, there's crane operators fully enclosed in cabs at the top of these construction sites that are, you know, I wouldn't be able to do that. I have a fear of heights. So I think my definition of superhero is a little bit more loose, maybe
Okay.
loosey-goosey. I think it is possible for superheroes to exist in real life. Is there a Superman out there? I don't think so. Is there, you know, is Batman a superhero? Does he have an innate ability? I guess, you
His
know.
mind.
I saw one article said his ability, or just like, I don't even know what you would call it, his noble quality is that he had immense wealth.
He had a what?
Immense wealth. And
Immense wealth.
He put it towards like helping other people, but not really.
So using that definition, Elon
Yeah.
Musk would be
Yes.
a superhero, you know.
Yeah.
That's just like
But-
the Justice League's movie where he said, I think the Flash said, "So what's your superpower?" "I'm rich."
Well,
So-
Robert Pattinson is the new Batman, and he himself said that Batman is not a superhero. But also, back to Black Widow, I Googled her abilities, because we were talking about if Hawkeye was a superhero or not, because he had his, like, powers that he never misses. And so you were talking about if Black Widow would count because she was highly trained. But her powers and abilities are a master in the covert arts of espionage, infiltration and subterfuge, expert martial arts, and exceptional agility and athletic ability. But she does not have any powers.
See, I think a subcategory of defining superhero would be, is this a character you're likely to see portrayed at a Comic-Con?
Yeah, that's true.
Especially
Yeah.
nowadays with the new movie coming out.
And that expands greatly upon this whole idea or concept of, you know, what constitutes a superhero. Because, okay, you can have the most formal, you know, airtight definition of what a superhero is, and somebody else is going to come along and say, well, I like so-and-so because they're my superhero. Well,
Yeah.
okay. And then that, you know, breaks down the whole...
Argument.
Yeah, it breaks down the argument. But that's what I like about so many of these characters that I see portrayed at Comic Cons and similar things. It's like, really, why did you choose to portray this particular character? Well, I like their ability to do whatever, or I like the way that they treat others, or, you know, they're known for their being able to do this little known thing that nobody else can. You know, so it's fascinating. It's interesting. I have very little interest in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. You
Fair
talk
enough.
about Black Widow, and I'm going, that's what's
Scarlett
her name?
Johansson,
Johansson, right?
Yeah.
I haven't seen most of the Iron Man movies or whatever they are.
Really?
Really. But I've heard it discussed and seen it and heard others talk about it so much that, yeah, the Thanos snap, I understand that. Sometimes I wished I had the snap, you know.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Do you know if Thanos chose who would go in the snap, or was it random?
I think it was random, wasn't it? Wasn't that the whole idea, was that it was random? And then there's all these discussions I see on my Facebook page about, well, what happened to all the unborn children?
Yeah.
Were they born or not? Their mom disappeared, but did the unborn child disappear with a snap? I mean, I'm going, Okay, these people are getting really deep.
Yeah. Unless one of the main characters is pregnant, you will never know.
Yeah, right. But anyway, yeah, there's the whole. It's fascinating to me to see what was just the art form of comic books now being turned into ginormous, multimedia entertainment franchises, and I'm just like, really?
Yeah.
I always had an argument with my son. Would the Transformers be considered superheroes? They're robots.
Yeah.
Do you have to be a human in order to be
A superhero.
a superhero? I guess not, because Superman isn't human.
Yeah.
Batman is, but he's not. See, that may be a subdelineation factor of who constitutes superhero versus. But what about the Transformers? Are they superheroes?
They're aliens.
Oh, okay.
So I think they count.
Yeah, they could
Yeah.
be. They could be.
Well, I mean,
So-
there are bad ones too, but that's besides the point.
What about supervillains?
Yeah.
How would you define a supervillain? Does a
Oh.
supervillain have to be on par with a superhero?
I would think
Because you have
no.
heroes and villains, superheroes,
Yeah.
and supervillains. So does a supervillain have to have a cat?
Oh, maybe.
I think so.
I was gonna say, would you consider the Joker to be a supervillain because he doesn't have any specific powers that we know of, but he almost always escapes. Like he causes so much mayhem. So would you consider him just a normal villain, or would you consider him a supervillain?
Well, doesn't he have the ability to suffer a great deal of pain or something?
To suffer a great no.
Yeah.
I don't think that's him. Is
Maybe
it?
I'm getting him
I don't
confused
know.
with Deadpool.
No, yeah, that's Deadpool. Is the one who can live after being sliced in
But
half.
I thought the Joker was like a criminal mastermind. So he
Yeah.
uses
Yeah.
he's like a Lex Luthor type. you
Well, they
know?
said Tony Stark's ability was he had like superior intellect, so maybe that could be
Yeah.
applied
But
to
see,
villains
that-
as well.
Well, that I would consider the same thing with Batman because doesn't he have like a superior like detective intellect skills?
Well,
So-
then I would clarify a superior intellect for good, whereas Lex Luthor is a superior intellect
For evil. Evil.
And the Joker, probably in that same category.
Okay.
He may have some really great ideas for being evil, but he also tends to put his thoughts into motion. He actions. He puts his thoughts into action.
Yeah.
Lex Luthor has a lot of plans.
But he needs the right people to do that.
Yeah, exactly. You got to hire the right henchman.
Yeah.
Lex Luthor is a great evil manager. Joker just gets it done. So
Yeah, he can do it by himself.
yeah.
To me, I would separate villains versus supervillains on like the degree of like despicable.
Villainy?
Where's that line?
I
Yeah,
don't
how
know.
despicable do they have to be?
Because it's like in the Transformers movies, like was it the Decepticons?
Decepticons.
Yeah.
Yes.
They wanted to just like I don't really remember the.
They wanted to destroy. Oh, actually, I don't even know anymore.
Yeah,
but
but they were evil.
Yeah.
But to me, like they weren't. The degree of villainy kind of like amps up when we're talking about the Joker because he would purposefully target people and harm them just for the sake of harming them. There wasn't like an end goal.
So
What about and I'm forgetting his name. The Dark Knight Rises.
Bane.
Bane. Yes. What about Bane? He was only looking
Yeah.
after Gotham City for the people,
But he didn't really help anyone.
didn't he?
he
freed the prisoners.
Well, he helped. I feel like he helped like the very few. He didn't help a majority of the people. He helped the people that were against democracy.
We will
and-
turn the city back into the hands of the people.
Yep.
Yeah.
So whereas
He locked up all the cops,
Yeah.
freed the prisoners.
Yeah. So
Yeah, that gets a little blurry because then it depends on like what your
That-
stance
that
on
gets
cops
lost in
is
translation.
and
That
what
get-
your stance on prisoners is.
that gets lost. in
Were they
translation.
bad cops
Yeah.
or evil cops?
So
Just Joseph Gordon-Levitt was
so,
a cop.
so Perry, quick question:
Yes.
under your guidelines, would you consider Thanos a supervillain?
Yes. Because he just kind of hurts people for the sake of hurting them, but
No.
he also has an end goal in mind.
Okay.
But he was worried about overpopulation of the universe, right? That's why
guess
he had to
so.
get rid of half the
That's
people.
why
But he also would. I mean, this is debated too. I kind of do feel like he abused Gamora, which was supposed to be his daughter, even though some people
Stepdaughter.
are like,
Let's get
yeah. But some people are like, no, he loved her for this and that reason. I'm like, I don't think so.
Who
Well,
was the
no.
green one?
Gamora.
Oh, then who was the other one?
Nebula.
Nebula.
Oh, Nebula.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
Nebula wasn't the daughter?
they both
They're
were.
not related? Oh.
Yeah.
They
Was
were
Nebula the true daughter and Gamora was
No,
the...
I think they were both stepdaughters. If I'm not, I don't
Really?
know. I don't know about.
See, I
Thanos
can't
is
keep up.
Thanos is still like a relatively new character. He's only been in two movies, and we haven't really explored either backstory yet. So,
Do we need to?
well, I'm sure the next Guardians of the Galaxy or the next Thor movie will explain that. So,
But if we're talking about, if the Avengers are inherently good and the Thanos is opposing the Avengers, doesn't that make him bad?
That's good.
well, so.
And what about the Suicide Squad? If they're actually if they're bad people doing good acts,
Are they good or are they?
are they
bad?
good or are they bad? They're super heroes?
They're anti-heroes, I think, is what
Yeah.
the slogan is. Because that's the big thing with Deadpool is like, he does the right thing. He just does it he does it the wrong way. I think so. Like an anti-hero would be someone like Venom,
But how is Venom a hero?
anti-hero, not
I only see him as a villain. How is he an anti-hero?
because I feel like you have to kind of watch the new Venom movie.
I've seen
Like,
it.
oh, have you?
Yeah.
I feel like he's the anti-hero because when you first look at him, he does have those villainous traits because he wants to destroy the world, and then he's like comes to a realization. He's like, Eddie, you are a loser like me. Let's join up and kill this guy. So, I feel like he still has those villain tendencies, but he's trying to do the right thing. Kind of like how they're like Harley Quinn or like Poison Ivy or. They started out as villains and then they realized the error and now they're trying to do good, but people only see them as villains. So I don't. This is a whole nother topic for a whole nother show or discussion.
What if you have to destroy the world in order to save it?
Hot Catch 22.
What is that from? I feel like I've heard that saying before.
I was watching The Fifth Element yesterday.
Ah.
And Gary Oldman's character in that is brilliant. He plays the evil Zorg.
Yeah.
And Zorg is making the argument, you're a bad person, Zorg. Why? Why do you think I'm bad? Well, because I seek to save life, whereas you seek to destroy it. And he's like, no. Look at what happens when things break. They get replaced. They get fixed. There's people that, it creates jobs. And so he has this really interesting take on, destroying things is actually just a means of
Rebuilding.
renewal. So I'm thinking, what if you have to destroy the world in order to save it?
But if it ain't broke, don't fix it.
That's the age-old argument that everyone has. So
Yes. Well, it's fun to talk about. I enjoy it, but I do know real world superheroes.
Yeah.
A dear superhero friend of mine actually is a paramedic up in Shallowater, and he's got talent and ability. The likes. I mean, he literally saves lives.
Yep.
I can't even save my own life, but he has saved numerous other lives. And I'm like, that is a power and ability I don't have. I can't save other life, but he can. His training, knowledge, experience, expertise, he can save lives. And I'm like, that makes him a superhero in my book. So,
Do you think people are born to be superheroes or they become superheroes?
I think,
Both.
so are they predestined? Is there a
Yeah.
destiny? Are they predestined to be superheroes? I think you can choose to be a superhero. I think it's all about choice.
But you can choose to be bad too.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
You can choose to be a superhero or a super villain. And,
Or you can become a supervillain based
Yeah.
on rejection or
Well,
from
that's-
the superhero lifestyle.
I think he just walked past. He's the chair of my Alzheimer's is acting up again. They wrote a book, but they talk about the Joker. That's the Joker's backstory. His environment made him who he is.
Oh, nature versus nurture.
Yeah. So, but I think your choices. You can still choose to overcome that. You can be in the worst environment there is and still be a good person and be a great superhero, or you can be an orphan, a rich orphan whose parents were killed and turned out to be pretty bad, I guess. Not
Yeah.
that Superman, Batman, that's his backstory.
I was about to say
Dark,
orphan.
orphan.
People don't like to say that, but when you realize that Batman and Joker kind of have like were kind of made like they were created in the environment that they lived in.
Yeah.
So when you look at their backstories, so
So I think, also that was a theme that I think M. Night Shyamalan did in his. Is it a trilogy now? I've only seen the first one. I don't know if he's got.
Split.
But
Yeah.
Glass, was that the?
Yeah, Glass.
Yeah. That was a theme that there's always, and I guess even Lucas in his Star Wars, had that same idea that there's always opposition. There's always a master and an apprentice. For every Jedi, there's an evil Dark Lord of the Sith or whatever. In M. Night Shyamalan's case, you've got Bruce Willis's character, whose name I'm forgetting. He's never sick, he's strong, but water is his kryptonite, I guess. And then you got Mr. Glass, who every bone in his body is brittle, but he's this evil mastermind, So I like this idea of opposition. There has to be opposition in things. And
For balance.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The universe, bring order to the force or whatever. But yeah, I think,
balanced.
so that having been said, for every one of my friends who's a paramedic and can save lives, there's probably somebody out there who's on the dark side killing people, or putting people in the hospital, or COVID. Maybe COVID is the super villain. I don't know.
COVID.
But yeah, this is a fascinating discussion. I'm sorry I missed Friday.
No,
this is
we didn't really
cool.
get much into it
Oh,
on
really?
Friday.
We were going to get into it
Yeah.
today if everyone had shown up.
Well, I'm glad, because like I said, I'm not up to speed on the MCU and I don't even know. I couldn't tell you what the difference is between the DC universe and the MCU universe. To me, they're not the same universes. No, they're competing film studios. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well,
one's Disney and one's Universal Studios.
Well, there you go. See, they're competing franchises, but
that, and also I feel like the MC universe is a little bit more lighthearted and a little bit more friendly.
a little bit more successful.
Yeah,
Just a little.
if you want to say that. Whereas the DC universe is a little bit more dark and gloomy. I feel like a perfect example of this is Zack Snyder's cut of the Justice League. If you look at that film compared to the first Avengers, that film is like created in more of like a dark aperture. Everything is cloudy, gloomy, and
dark.
And I'm spoiler alert if you haven't seen it, but at the end of it, Superman's suit is all black, whereas in the original showing of it was his normal colors. But in the Zack Snyder cut, it's all black, whereas no matter what hero in MCU, they, except for maybe Black Widow and Hawkeye, they have glowing, brightly colored suits. So I feel like each universe is tapered into in a different aesthetic style. So
Okay. Now, I liked the conversation of nature versus nurture because I am a huge fan of true crime, and they always talk about these bad people. They talk about their backgrounds and their childhoods and things like that, and most of the time, not 100%, but most of the time they do come from bad childhoods. But I know a lot of people do experience bad childhoods, and obviously not all of them grow up to be serial killers, unfortunately. So I primarily think that I want to say only a little bit nature, but also I feel like it's 25-75, 25% nature and then 75% nurture.
for the heroes and the villains, or
Just
or
in general, I would say whether that's a fictitious universe or if it's reality.
Yeah.
Is that the same for supervillains as well?
I guess I would say so. I mean, the only supervillain I'm super familiar with is the Joker, and it's he didn't have the best growing up environment, but I also do think part of it was his nature. He just couldn't get a grip, unfortunately.
So I guess for say the anti-heroes such as Venom, Deadpool, Suicide Squad, what's another big one? Can't think of any more, but those guys, would you consider them? Would that be just nurtured, where they start out being nurtured as villains and then they're being slowly nurtured back towards heroes? Or
I'm not entirely sure, because Harley Quinn was a good person and then had a regression to be a bad person.
Well, I think her main backstory is she was originally a doctor, Harley Quinzel, and then when she met the Joker in Arkham, you would say the Joker kind of nurtured her towards villainy, not because I feel like not because she wanted to be a villain, but because she fell in love with the Joker,
Yeah.
and because of that, she said she joined him in villainy, and then like after she realized like, hey, this man is a horrible dude, horrible guy. She's kind of going back towards being like on the good side, but she still can't like erase what people think about her already.
So I would say she's inherently good then, and then was nurtured to be bad.
Okay, so then how do you explain Anakin Skywalker?
I feel like he was, or it's the same. It was the same thing because he wanted to be good, and everyone was trying to nurture him to be good. But because of the death of his mother, his feelings toward Tatooine, and I feel like eventually the way the Jedi Order was, and how no one kind of helped him, Palpatine or Emperor Palpatine was kind of able to nurture him towards the dark side. So I feel like it's the same way as Harley Quinn, where he was inherently good, but then nurtured towards evil as war and like or family member deaths and all that kind of went on.
I think nature plays an aspect in his case though too, because
because of the environment
was
he
good
lived
at
in.
what he did, and so it's kind of like a power grab. It was like once he realized he was the best, then he wanted all the power.
Right.
And he cracked a little bit. When bad things happened to him, he couldn't handle it.
He couldn't keep his his emotions in check, is what you're saying.
Yeah.
So.
Understandable though. All right. Any other closing thoughts on superheroes, supervillains?
I can't think of any. I'm so out of my depth here.
No,
so.
me too. I have like surface level knowledge of all the superheroes we've talked about today, but you know what? Good enough. I'll take
whereas
it.
myself, I've watched almost every superhero villain hero movie that's been made so far.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I want to get into this, but they are gonna have no clue at what I'm saying. So.
Yeah, but we definitely tried, and we definitely did have something to contribute. So
Yes.
pat on the back to us.
Yes.
Thank you guys for tuning in today. I apologize for the fact that we're missing a lot of our friends here, but you know what? They'll be back sometime.
It's Monday. They wanted
Yeah.
the day off. I mean.
And if you want to see them, you can tune in tomorrow for Super Summer Spectacular Special at 1 p.m. live on the TuneIn app or on Facebook. I'm Perry.
I'm DG.
And I am Austin.
All right, stay tuned for the rest of the week for some great shows. Bye.